It took me 24 years, but I finally got to see the N&W 611 in living steam. How did I get this footage? Well, a friend of mine and I were hanging out at a convention when she suggested that I come down to Virginia sometime to hang out with her. Put a pin in that. Many months later, another friend of mine whispers in my DMs mentioning that one of my favorite steam locomotives is offering train rides on the Virginia Scenic Railway. So I messaged my other friend. Do you know a place called Stanton? And soon, plans were drawn up for the two of us to intercept Norfolk and Western 611, one of the last steam locomotives to be built in the United States. 2 tickets for the excursion were obtained, and excitement grew as October approached. This friend of mine had never been on a train before, and I always enjoy sharing my hobby with people who are open-minded but not necessarily into it the same way that I am. It's really nice to get an outside perspective. For context on N&W 611, one of my earliest memories is seeing this majestic, powerful steam locomotive on a VHS tape. In amongst footage of various toy trains were clips of this real, fire-breathing steel monster emerging through clouds of its own steam. Over Beethoven's Fifth. I also watched a lot of Thomas the Tank Engine as a kid, like everybody else, but that footage of 611, I think, changed me. Ward Kimball was also on that same VHS tape, but I digress. Learning more about the history of 611 as I grew older made me like it even more, and it's currently the only steam locomotive that I have in 2 different sizes. The Norfolk and Western Railway was the last major railroad in the United States to use steam locomotives. While the other railroads started going all diesel as early as 1947, the N&W, which ran through coal mining territory, was a steam holdout as late as 1960. Part of the N&W's steam longevity was due to their East End shops at Roanoke, Virginia. Here, the Norfolk and Western repaired and later constructed their own steam locomotives. Steam locomotives require a lot of labor and constant maintenance, though the N&W sought ways to make their steam locomotives more efficient and easier to maintain to keep the diesels at bay. On most traditional steam locomotives, the side rods and moving parts need frequent oiling. On most long-distance passenger runs, the train stops so that the engine can be changed out for another one. There's a lot of reasons to change engines, but one of the big ones is so that the side rod bearings got a chance to cool down while the engine was being serviced. On more modern steam locomotives, like the 611, however, this trouble was done away with. The engine rides on Timken roller bearings, and it could make the journey from Cincinnati to Norfolk without needing to change engines. Built in 1950, 611 was one of the last groups of passenger steam locomotives made in the United States, and represented the zenith of steam development, having almost all the modern labor-saving devices as well as being the most powerful steam locomotive of its size. On fast passenger trains, these Class J locomotives were routinely clocked at over 100 miles an hour through the southern plains of Ohio. So fast and smooth riding were these big streamliners that the engine men, used to older steam locomotives, sometimes couldn't tell how fast they were actually going until they'd take a curve too fast. 611 here jumped clear over another track and ended up nosed first in Tug River in 1956, but she was fished out and later rebuilt. However, in spite of impressive speed and power and all the efficiency improvements, the 611 is still a steam locomotive. Steam locomotives need a lot of care, attention, maintenance, and specialized equipment that a diesel simply doesn't need. After a service career of just 10 years, the 611 and her sisters were put away as boxy GP9 diesels were ordered to take their place in 1960. Fortunately for us, because of 611's major wreck and repair in 1956, she was practically fresh from the workshops when withdrawn, and that's part of why the Virginia Museum of Transportation has been able to preserve this big locomotive in running condition today. In the 1980s, the locomotive was rebuilt and ran all over the Norfolk Southern Railroad, and my uncle saw it several times before it was withdrawn again in 1994. In 2015, this J-Class engine was again brought back to running condition, and there have been several times where I almost got to see it, but something always prevented me from getting the chance. Not this time, though. The 611 was going to be in steam. She was going to be trapped on the Virginia Scenic Railway's Buckingham branch, and I had the tickets for it. And...
No, you can't get away. From hell's heart, I stab at thee.
The big day was approaching, and after a very long drive along the route of the Norfolk and Western, I arrived in Virginia. Then I got an email. An NW 611 had broken down the same night and would be out of action possibly for the rest of the weekend. Steam locomotives are, after all, very fickle and moody creatures. These kinds of things can happen, and in order to do repairs on a steam locomotive, you have to wait for it to cool down, which takes many hours, and for the well-being of the engine and the safety of everybody involved, it's good to be careful when dealing with heat and pressure. I accepted this news with quiet dignity and grace.
Come on, you what do you do to me? What did you do to me?
Jokes aside, the crew of the 611 were miracle workers, and they were able to fix the trouble by Sunday. The train ride still happened, even though we went behind a trio of diesel locomotives, and it was still fun.
Shenandoah Valley.
I live here.
This train of silver streamlined cars came from the American Steam Institute in Michigan. These coaches are normally hauled behind Pierre Marquette 1225 and form part of the real Polar Express. Except for this Zephyr car at the end, I think that came from the Cuyahoga Scenic Railroad. I think I've actually been on it before. I think. I don't know. There might be another one that just looks like it. Anyways, a very fun train ride, and we got to explore Stanton, Virginia. Although the train didn't actually stop at the station in Stanton, because the station only has one track, and the big trains were using it for important stuff, like hauling empty coal cars. On our train ride, we did see a few photogenic spots, including a place called Craigsville. The name seemed familiar.
Emergency control, this is Central Control. Contact Washington immediately. 0X crash position established as Craigsville, population 4,800.
Allegedly, 611 was in steam on this day. We excitedly rushed over to Craigsville to wait to catch her. The neighborhood cats seemed to know a good spot, so we followed them. Fun fact, in the 1966 movie Thunderbirds Are Go, the first manned mission to Mars crash lands in the exact spot that we're standing, destroying the entire town. Craigsville's population apparently grows a lot in the future. Anyways, we stood around here and noticed more and more cars coming to join us. Clearly, the 611 was getting closer. And then we heard it. My friend phrased it well.
That is a nice sounding horn. We'll keep focus on it. the best footage. Look at all that steam. Alright, should I go ahead and cut it?
Oh yeah, that was worth it. Later that day, we visited the Virginia Museum of Transportation and saw the 611's many friends and contemporaries. My favorite Norfolk and Western engine there was, of course, N&W number 6, the oldest preserved N&W engine, a 280 built in 1897, which was retired multiple times and by all accounts should not have survived, and yet here she is. Modern steam like 611 may be cool and all that, but I personally do prefer stately late 19th century stuff. Maybe it's because I'm a very skinny person and I can fit into the cramped cab and crawl underneath it to access all the inconvenient oiling spots, but anyways. I finally got a chance to see the 611 in steam, and it was all because of the friendship of somebody that I met at a costume convention last year, while dressed up as a horse. Oh, and this friend of mine actually lives close enough to where the 611 was that, well, she got to see it again. So there she is going home to the Virginia Museum of Transportation. Cool.